So the first thing we're going to do when building a requirement is change our profile. So once we log into NROWS, we have our normal sailor profile. We want to click on change profile, go down and change to our planner profile. Change profile, you can set it to default here. Go back to home and your planner profile menu is available. So what we're going to do is select requirement owner, and the requirement owner menu comes up. Again, right here you can create a requirement, copy a requirement, or view your inbox. We're going to click create requirement. So it brings up the requirement owner information section. The first thing here is the requirement information. So requirement number automatically generates the next number in line in NROWS. We type in a requirement name here. Again, if you've seen my other video with regards to how we name requirements and name certain missions, you'll know there's specific ways that we do it. So what we do for a requirement name specifically is we start out with the physical year. So for us, FY18 currently. Then the quarter. So we'll just say Q1. Then we do our UIC. So for the Norfolk Fleet Office Unit 88542. And then a description of your unit. Again, for the Mid-Atlantic unit, we use NNFO. What type of orders we're going to be creating off this requirement. So AD or AT, ADT Special, ADT Schools, IDTT. So just for this one, we'll put AT. And then a description of the actual requirement. So we'll put test. And then we like to put the name of the individual if it's one specific individual. If not, you don't need to put anything right here. If it's multiple individuals, that's fine, but at least get this type of structure when you're creating your requirements. So physical year, quarter, UIC, name of unit, what type of orders, and then the description of the actual requirement. So now I need to select my AUIC. If you have multiple active components that you're planning for, you may have multiple AUICs listed. We only have the one specific for NCIS OMS. And then you have to look for the supported mission event. So if this is an ADT Schools request, a lot of people make the mistake of using their own missions and not the approved N7 missions. If you go ahead and click on the video I have linked up in the right hand corner, you'll be able to determine the proper mission numbers for ADT Schools requests. So now we actually have to search for the mission that we're utilizing. If you go ahead and picked up the N7 mission number that you need for ADT Schools, you can plug it in here. If you already know the mission number, you can plug it in here. What I like to do is do a search. For wildcard characters, we utilize the percent sign and not the asterisk sign. So we'll use percent, my UIC, 88542, and then percent. And I'll hit search. It'll bring up all the mission numbers for my specific unit. Again, you'll notice since I didn't utilize FY18 previously, I can go ahead and drill this down a little more, type FY18 here, hit search, and it'll bring up just my physical year 18 specific missions that I created. So for this, it's a investigative AT mission. So we're looking for investigative AT. Go ahead and select the mission number. You'll notice back in the requirements menu, it will populate the mission. If you do not have this mission populated, you cannot save the requirements. So you got to go and search the mission, find the mission that you're looking for, and then go ahead and save that mission out and make sure that the mission name and all the fields, applicable fields, are filled up. So we'll scroll down here. The next thing we'll fill out will be the requirement state. So if it's an active requirement or on hold, if you don't want to fund it yet, but you want to activate it, you can select either of those options. Go ahead and select active for the one we're going to do here. By name request or advertisement. Again, we normally do by name request if you have a requirement that you do not have a member to fill, you can select advertisement here. Planner's priority is fairly self-explanatory. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to leave it medium selected here. And then number of officers, number of enlisted. This is, let's say you're building a requirement for us. Fleet weeks are a big requirement. So if we know that we're going to have 10 officers and 10 enlisted, we would put that information here. For this one, I'm just going to use one officer just for testing purposes here. And then once we fill this, we could actually calculate the cost. It'll calculate the cost depending on the rank and pay grade of the member. And you want to put the contact information here. So again, for us, fleet weeks are a big deal. New York Fleet Week is probably the biggest, so we would put the POC here for the different requirements. I'm going to go ahead and just for the purpose of this demonstration, hit copy contact. And again, this might be utilized for you as well if the same individual for the mission is the same individual for the requirement. You can do that here. So the next section here is order type and order subtype. So if I click on order type, there are different options available here. ADSW, ADT, annual training, IDTT are the ones we utilize. For ADSW, you're not going to utilize this normally unless you're working for like the pillar. So the request for ADT is separate, goes to the pillar level. The pillar has a board. They select the proper ADSW work, and then they will put in, or the NOS will put in the ADSW requirement for you. So you're probably never going to utilize this. ADT, so click on ADT, subtypes. The only two you're probably going to use, again, the most utilized ones are ADT special for your standard ADT special work, and then your school ADT for your N7 requirements. So you can use AT schools or ADT schools. Again, if you are using ADT schools, you want to make sure that the mission you're using is the correct mission. So you also have annual training, which gives you, and we're going to normally just use annual training or school annual training. And then there's IDTT, which is IDT travel for cross-assigned in individuals or cross-assigned out individuals, and then non-paid travel, which we don't utilize. So I'm going to, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use annual training, and then I'm going to select annual training here. PCS orders are really only utilized for ADSW work. So the reporting information is next, location information basically. So what you got to do here is search for the UIC for the area that you're going to utilize and report to. So for us, it's NCIS in Norfolk. Again, it could be anywhere. You just need to make sure that you get the location via search for searching for the UIC. So I'm going to search for state. I'll go to Virginia. Scroll down here. Keywords, do NCIS. Search. There's the different NCIS activities. So I'm looking for NCIS Norfolk Field Office. Go ahead and select the UIC. In the requirements menu, it'll go ahead and populate. And then you need to fill in for duty with the descriptions. We'll just put here for duty with NCIS. Duty description is test work. And then POC name, phone number, and email. Next section here is the duty information, so report end date. You can copy the mission dates here if you want to. I never do this because a lot of the times the mission dates are the full year. So I'll just hit the reporting date and we'll say it is today. And the end dates for the requirement will be, let's say, 2 weeks. Again, it's all going to depend on your specific report and end dates for your specific requirements. If it's duty afloat or not. And then we're going to go ahead and set up the per diem and travel information here. So what I'm going to do is hit lookup. I'm going to select where the requirement is located and what you're actually looking for. So we're going to do, for us, it's going to be Norfolk. I'll search. Different options available here. I'll go into actually Norfolk Naval Station. It'll go ahead and populate the max lodging and max meals. The option here is if a rental car is authorized, obviously yes or no. We're going to go ahead and keep it at no for the purpose of this demonstration. And then quarters and messing. So if this is, quarters will pretty much always be available if you're in a fleet concentrated area. So if quarters are available, according to the JTR, the Joint Travel Regulations, you must use quarters available. So I'm going to go ahead and select quarters available, and then it's good if you have a specific BQ location. You can type in where you want to here. You can type in the actual name of the location. If you call the location and they do not have availability, they'll provide you with a non-availability. But you should always use available. According to the JTR, you should always use available if it is available in that specific area. You can always go back, get a CNA if needed. So I'm going to type Norfolk here. And messing, same thing. If it's available, you are required to use it. If it's not available, then you're select not available. So for us here, and specifically in NCIS, because of the type of work we do, because of the hours required, and because of some of the areas that we do, we are 99% of the time going to use not available. So we'll select not available. You're going to get a pop-up saying that if you choose, if you're not going to get paid, basically, if messing is available. I'll hit OK here. And we'll normally put a justification in the justification line at the bottom because it's not available for us. It may be available to the rest of the Navy, but it's not available to us specifically because of our requirements. Mode of travel. For this one, I'm going to use no travel authorized because it's a local to me. The other options are, many here. You can commercial airline. If you're taking a rental car, train, personal POV, personal car. If you're taking a government vehicle, those are all authorized or available options, I should say. So I'm going to leave mine no travel authorized. And the next section is the tour information. Again, these different options are available if it's dual lodging is required, in and around mileage. So if you're taking your personal POV and you're going to be there for a specific amount of time, and you want from where you're staying to the actual location of the duty is 15, 20 miles. You want to go ahead and get paid for those back and forth miles to your duty location, lodging. For us, we use this a lot, depending on if we're driving our personal vehicles or to certain sites to do certain things. Mixed mode of travel, excess baggage, if you're authorized firearms or not, all these other options available. And then if this is a school requirement, go ahead and click on yes. And then you're required to fill in the actual name, the course name, the CDP, all this different information for specific school requirements. So ADT schools, or AT schools, this is a required, these are required fields. Since this is just a standard AT requirement, I'm going to go ahead and select no. Funding, you're pretty much going to let that default once the orders are completed. And then you'll select the different operations and missions, pillars supported for this specific requirement. Go ahead and select one here. Do operational readiness training. And there's different options here for mission priority. This is a intelligence mission. It's a fleet-sponsored exercise, virtual exercise, many different options here. I'm just going to select one, professional development. Pillar, again, for NCI specifically, we always use the DC pillar. That's our pillar associated with. Enterprise supported. We'll go ahead and say, let's see, I can say, I'm just going to say intelligence for this one. Purpose category. If this is a school, you would put a school here. Navy event if you're supporting an exercise. If it's surge support, I'm going to go ahead and type, put Navy event here. Require a status. Not applicable. And then for rate information, this is where you could specify if you have a specific minimum or maximum rate, if there are designators that are required. A lot of times, if you're building a by name request, you're going to know what this specific information is. If it's an advertisement, then you would especially designator rate, and if there's NEC or AQDs that are required, all that information goes here. I'm going to go ahead and put minimum rank and then maximum rank here. Again, this is all applicable to your situation. Whether a security clearance is required or not, and then type in the justification. So once I have the security clearance information, I'll hit Save Requirement. And you'll get requirement saved and the actual requirement number here. You may want to go ahead and take note of the requirement number so you can actually search for it at a later time when we go over the requirement inbox. The next section is the members. So go ahead and click on the Members tab. And this is where you're actually going to add your members to the requirement. So any member here that's added will be able to create orders off these specific requirements. So the different ways you can do it here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the first way, which is search for members. Click on search for members. Multiple options here to search for. 99% of the time you're either going to do social or last name. So I'm going to put my last name in there and search. And miraculously there's more than one Dalrymple in the Navy. But I find my specific record, click the check box over here, and then hit select, and that will populate the member into the requirement. Same thing if you want to delete a member here, go ahead and select delete here. Say you made a mistake, you hit delete, and it'll ask you, are you sure you want to delete? Hit OK, and the member is deleted. Another option here is if you have a social roster, you can go ahead and just type in social security numbers here and add SSN. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. In the video you'll see it actually blurred, but I'm adding my social security number here. Click add SSN, and then immediately we'll add myself or whoever you selected into the requirement. So the last thing you want to do with requirement here is go ahead and click Save Requirement. The requirement is saved with the members listed. You'll notice the requirement is not validated and you cannot approve these individuals until the requirement is validated. So the next video we'll go over how to kind of bring all this together. and that video will be linked in the upper right hand corner.